Good morning. I think I'm live. I'm going to give it a second because I see a bar going across my top. Good morning. Happy Friday. I think today is Friday. Good morning, magnificent. How are you all feeling this morning? Feel free to drop your words in there. Let's see. I'll start. I'm feeling amused and I got a bit of frustration. No, I got a bit of aggravation going on. Um, with my landlord today, but I'm feeling used with the other stuff spinning in my head. So, how are you all feeling? All right. Well, this morning, I do want to go over step two again briefly. Good morning, Sarah B. I think this is like day 25, you guys. This is like the countdown to the end of our 30-day challenge. Thank you for sticking in here with me, joining me. Feeling lighter, warm hearted. Nice, nice. I can identify with those feeling lighter. Yeah, for sure. Um, and I wanted to share from the upcoming or the newest production I have. It's a book of poetry. It starts with a manifesto, but it's a book of some of the collection of poems that I have around this work. And so I thought I'd start there this morning and then give a brief overview of step two, because I want to make sure we are using these tools in the way that they give us the maximum benefit. Um, so that's what I'm going to share this morning. That's what I'm feeling about sharing. So drop how you're feeling in there. Good morning, Mayor. Happy Friday to you too. All right, this piece is called The Steps We Are Taking. And hopefully, this sounds or feels familiar as you have been working through the steps these past 3 weeks now, over 3 weeks now. The subtitle, How We Heal with Social Tech. All right, let's see. Let me get it close enough so I can see. Give myself the best chance for success with getting my eyes together. Oh, geez. Okay, the steps we are taking, how we heal with social tech. This isn't magic. It's not mysticism. It's not mystery. This is how we do it. Not in theory, but in practice. Because healing isn't a vibe, it's a decision. And decisions need structure. So we take steps, not perfect ones, but honest ones. Steps that hold the weight of real change. Steps we repeat, refine, return to. Step one, we named what happened, just the facts. What occurred, what was said, what was done, and how it makes us feel. Because emotions are data, they are truth, and we don't separate the two anymore. Step two, we name the damage, not just what they did, but what it cost us. The values violated, the beliefs broken, the expectations unmet, and we list those losses. The trust we stopped offering, the dreams we buried, the softness we packed away. Step three, we name our survival strategies because we didn't just suffer, we adapted. We performed, we disappeared, we got louder, we got smaller, we overachieved, we mumbled. Whatever we did to stay alive deserves acknowledgement. It was smart, it was sacred, but it's not always sustainable. Step four, we tell the truth about our part. The beliefs we internalize, the shoulds and the should nots that kept us frozen, the values we adopted that were never really ours. We named the losses we caused to ourselves and sometimes to others. It's not about blame, it's about reclaiming authorship. Step 5A, sit with the cost of all of it. The life currency we spent in confusion, in silence, in survival, we hold it not to drown in it, but to honor it. Step 5B, we find the meaning. We ask, what did I learn? What do I now know? What becomes clear because I've lived it? This is the only step where analysis belongs, where we gather the wisdom, where we begin to write the new rule book for how we live. And yes, we repeat these steps, not in shame, but in rhythm. This is how we do it. We meet ourselves, our patterns, our pain, with a process that leads us back to truth. These are not just healing tools, they are a framework for living, a method for building new lives on top of the old ruins. Because revolution without healing is just oppression with a different flag. So we take the steps, we walk them together, and we do it in the open so others know they don't have to stay stuck. These are the steps we are taking, and yes, you can take them too. That was called The Steps We Are Taking. I hope some of those steps sound familiar. I hope they sound familiar to the processes that you have been going through or spinning in your mind as you've been reading the book and hopefully doing the work of healing. The process, trust the process. I saw somewhere, probably on social media, someone says she stopped framing things as boundaries, and she just said, it's my policy. And I love that so much, to say it's just my policy for doing life. The setting boundaries, the making decisions, the healing, it's my process. And so I hope that that rang true to you, rang true to the process that you've been following. Yeah. Step 2. All right. I want to give you just a few minutes about that. As I wrote about, step 2 is about some of the fact finding. Chapter 18, page 76, emotional fallout, the feelings and the losses. This is extending the story that you told in part 1. It's adding to that some additional details that you need to be able to process this in ways that lead us to healing and resolution. And so after looking at the facts and the feelings, and then deciding if you're ready to move forward, because part of that is some situations bring up emotions that you need to give time. We don't want to stuff those emotions down. We want them to come through and to go through the experience so that we can let them go. And once you've done that and you're ready to move forward, step 2 asks you to collect additional information. It asks you to look at the values and the beliefs and expectations. Sometimes those are values that we can state. I value freedom. I value financial responsibility or financial sustainability. I value, insert your thing. But sometimes, and oftentimes, they really are framed as the shoulds and should nots of our lives. What should have happened? The feelings give you indicators. They're the flag on the play in your life. Something might have compromised your policies, your standards, your values, your expectations. What did I expect to happen? I'm aggravated because I had an expectation for certain things to be done, or people to act in a certain way or respond in a certain way. We had an agreement. Our agreement was that you do A, B, and C. You didn't do B and C. I expected you to do A, B, and C. Because you didn't do B and C, my expectation got shattered. And now I feel irritated and aggravated because my expectations didn't get met. Oftentimes, asking yourself those questions helps you to hone in on the values. There's a link that I pinned that's a video. Jackie Moser, who's come in some mornings with us, was gracious enough to give me time as we went through some of the explanations and permission to be able to record it for sharing. And in her situation, she was talking about the death of her father. And we talked about expectations. I didn't expect for him to die today. That's real. I dealt with a parent who had terminal illness. There was an expectation that death was coming, but if I didn't expect him to die today, that would shatter some expectations within me. And by definition, in this modality, that is trauma. Because anytime your expectations or values or beliefs are conflicted, it creates trauma in your life. For me, my experience with my father's death was different. I expected death to be imminent. Him dying didn't conflict with my expectation in that moment. It may have conflicted with some other things, but that expectation was different. And I bring that up to say that each one of us has a whole different set of variables in the algorithm of our life. That my values and expectations may be different than yours, given the similar situation happening. Something happens and it may happen to both of us, and you respond one way and I respond another, or it traumatizes me and it doesn't traumatize you because our expectations are different. For me, one of the examples I use is I watch the news. I watch the news for information. I'm watching for trends. I'm watching to see what's happening. I'm watching to see what people are saying. Someone says it just traumatizes me when I do it. And I said, it doesn't traumatize me in the way it used to. And they said, why not? I said, because I expect people to be who they are. And we got issues. So the behavior that I see is what I actually expect to see. Therefore, it makes me sad, but it doesn't traumatize me. I change my expectation. Quit expecting folk to be living by a different set of standards than they really living by. Quit expecting folk to be living from your healing paradigm. Quit expecting folk to not be who they say they are. And so part of this is about identifying the values expressed in the incident that you're working on. Now, some parts of it are speculation based on the behavior of others. This person cussed me out. What values can I take from that? They feel entitled to be able to speak to me like that. Pretty obvious by the fact that they did. Now, that may not be what they believe, but that is what was lived out. This person felt entitled to treat me in the way that they did. Those become that set of expectations. And then the other part of this is, so one, that frames what actually happened. What were the values being played out? But because we're doing healing work for ourselves, the other part of that is, what are my real values? It don't matter what their values are. They've lived out what they have the capacity to live out. People say, well, if they know better, they do better. And I have not found that to be true. That opportunity is there. But just because you know or have values doesn't mean you can always live them. There's a disconnect between what you believe and what you actually live out, what you have the capacity to live out. And so part of this is looking at you, because that's who you're doing the healing work for. Look at the situation. How did I behave? What were the values that played out? Now, what are the values I really believe? And sometimes they're different. I spoke to her rudely. I believe that folks should not be rude to other people or unkind or hurtful. I said hurtful things, but I believe that people should not intentionally hurt each other emotionally. Disconnect. Now, we're not doing any judgment. We're just stating the facts so that when we get to step 5B, we've got all of the data to be able to then analyze. So what are my values? What are the values that, even though this situation happened, as I sit now in my calmer mind, I'm not in that active state of being triggered and reaching for my behavioral drugs of choice. What are my real values? Do I really believe that everyone should be treated with respect? Self. Doesn't say good or bad about what your beliefs are. It says we got to state them, because then we can see where the trauma is being created and who's responsible. Sometimes other people are responsible for the trauma that happens in your life. I chose to interact with this person, and this person did some things that violated my values. That person may be the source of trauma. But until we unweave this situation, I sometimes miss the part that, hold on, they actually didn't do anything to traumatize me, but I did. In this situation, even though it was an unfortunate situation, I'm the only one that did something that actually traumatized me. Oh, I'm responsible for that damage or those losses. And so this is a part, again, about pulling out the ideas. But once you do that, this is also about the cost. I talk about life currency. What did it cost you? How many breaths of oxygen and mental energy, emotional energy did this cost you? What did you lose? Because of this situation in the areas sometimes when it was off balanced or out of alignment with your values, maybe there's losses. But that's not all. Sometimes you do the things that align with your values and there's losses. And that's important to know also. It's important to know the cost for your honest living. There is a cost. You have control over it, but there's a cost for that too. When I'm honest with people, what happened? I was honest with this person, and then they blamed me for being honest. Loss, perhaps. And so then it's taking time to look at the losses. This situation created some loss. Maybe it was lost time from my life where I spent part of my life energy feeling bad. Maybe I lost a relationship, a friendship. Maybe I lost physical well-being. Maybe I lost some stuff. That's this week. I lost some stuff. That's a real loss. I can put dollars and cents to it. When I went in to file the extra reports, what was your loss? She was talking about the dollars and cents of it, and I had an answer for her. But the loss was spending time feeling aggravated about a situation. Feeling violated always is a loss for me. Is it a loss that I hold on to? No. But for those moments of feeling aggravation about it, that impacted the quality of my life. I don't care if it was 15 minutes of the quality of my life being impacted. It was 2 hours of my morning at 2 o'clock interrupted. I could have gotten a whole lot done, especially if I'd had my computer in those hours, because I'm often up anyway. One day I sleep in, they got me, which is good. If they had walked on me and I'd been sitting here in the dark, it might not have ended the same way. I don't know how it would have ended. I assumed that they were low-level criminals and didn't have intentions to hurt anyone, but you don't know because folk got issues. And so in this step, we end with, what did it cost? What did it cost? And so we look at those three things are the real critical parts of this step. What are my values, beliefs, expectations, the shoulds and should nots? What were the losses? And then we look at the follow-up. What did I do? What did I do? And what did I do? Because oftentimes I start individuals working with the past. You already done what you did. It's already done. You've already done it. You can't undo it. Whatever the case was, it's there. But, and I'll just bring this out as just an extra, when you're using this as part of your lifestyle. Before you get to the what did I do, you have the opportunity to decide what will I do. That's the opportunity for you to be able to decide to do the things that cause the least amount of damage to you. If I behave in this way, is this going to violate my values? I want to say boop, 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 but if I do that, would that violate my values in any way? Because if I do that, it's going to damage me first. It may damage the other person too, which is the breakdown of community, but it may damage me first if I take an action that conflicts with my own values. And so this process gives you the opportunity to use it as a real-time life processing tool. If I take this action, knowing what I now know, this action may cause me damage, may traumatize me. Am I willing to pay that cost? This process doesn't evaluate the rightness or wrongness of your values. That's your work, and that's personal. Is this value a good value to hold on to? My question would be, is it sustainable? If somebody else held that value and interacted with you holding that value that you think you are entitled to hold on to, or that you feel is a good value to hold on to, is that sustainable? I should be able to say whatever I want to people. I believe that. Say whatever you want to say. But I also have some other values that say, I choose to be loving and kind. Therefore, I choose the things to say, and I can still be honest and be loving and kind. Which values play out? All of them. All of them. But if I just decide to speak my mind, is that going to violate any other values in my life? And is that sustainable? If somebody else did that to me, how would that be? If you wouldn't want someone else to pick up the value that you're claiming you should hold, then chances are it's not sustainable. No judgment, just contemplate it. Spend some time in contemplation. Can community be sustainable if everybody adopts this value? That's if everybody does an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, we all walking around blind. And so part of this is about sustainable value-based transformation. Being able to look at the values that you are living out, the ones that you can actually live out and the ones that you believe, noticing when they don't match up, and noticing when those values are not sustainable. That's my personal litmus test. This may be your value, Lorana, but could someone else have that value and your interactions be sustainable? Not really. If I go around spitting out poison to folk just because I want to say what I want to say, I want people to temper what they got to say. Temper your truth with kindness. Say it to me, but you ain't got to be mean about it. And so part of this is about the opportunity for evaluation. Once you've gone through the healing cycle, to be able to look and see where you have some conflictions. And sometimes we just hold conflicting values. My personal story, and the one that I use because people can understand it. When I first moved into the professional workspace, I was working in the income tax industry. And my first job in that arena was working with a corporate store, a corporate income tax franchise store. And I was in a pretty, I was in the hood. I was in Southwest Atlanta, the SWATs, Collier Heights. And it probably wasn't the safest. It was a low income neighborhood. There was crime. And I carried a pistol every day on my hip, partly because my children would come to work with me. They'd be in the office. I think I was pregnant with the baby, and the next one in line was in a walker. And I had boys that were elementary school age. But my value is that I don't have the right to take another life. Conflicting values. Because if somebody had come in there, I would have taken them out in a minute with no questions asked. Would I have felt bad? Would I have been traumatized? Absolutely. Because I had conflicting values. My value for protecting my children in a potentially dangerous situation was more important than the other value. In that scenario, if my children are here in this office and something go down, you come in here thinking I got money and all I got is check stock. You got to print something on the check, but ain't no real money, it's paper, If you come in here and think that and mean to do harm, and my children are here, you'll go out before they will. But that's a hard decision. Because I understood that by holding two values that conflicted, I was double-minded a bit in my life. And I understood there could potentially be a cost in that was trauma, by me holding conflicting values. Life's not black and white. In life, sometimes we have those conflicting values, and it's just about awareness and making a choice that you can live with no regrets. That's really what it's about. Being in control of your life, choosing to behave in ways that are in your best interest. And taking care of yourself well is in your best interest. So that's step 2. This is again is chapter 18 in your book. There's more information in the informational videos that go into detail. The book gives you real detailed step-by-step. Go through the process, trust the process. I try to walk you through it step by step, where you just do the steps, do what step 2 tells you to do, and work yourself through the healing cycle. Any questions on that before we go into quiet working time? I hope that's given you a little bit of insight and clarity. Any questions on step 2? And how are you guys feeling? Let's see. Let's check in on how you guys are feeling today. Hola, Jackie. Mayor is feeling disillusioned. perplexed, grateful, awestruck, and strong. Thank you. How many of you can identify with any of those feelings? Sometimes all jumbled up at the same time. Thank you for those words. Any others? How are you feeling today? Lighter, warm hearted, was mentally magnificent feelings this morning. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share? Reminder, I will be holding the last Saturday of this challenge. So we'll be doing a group exhale tomorrow after this time. It'll be 8 o'clock my time, Ecuador time, which is equivalent to 9 o'clock Eastern time. I'm equivalent of Central time right now during this half of the year. So immediately following the 2 hour time block that we have for the co-working space, and we'd love to have you join us. It's nice to be able to have two-way dialogue and really share um, some of your experience and perspective and insight, because that's how we heal together and learn together. And your insight may be something that someone else needs. So we invite you to come and join us in that time. Drop in and stay as long as you'd like, as long as you can. We'd love to have you. All right. I hope you guys are prepared for a good day. In the week strong, and have a good weekend prepared. All right, I'm going to go into silent co-work time if no one else has anything to share. Thank you for joining me this morning and for letting me share. If anyone's coming in and they have not gotten a copy of the book, so this may not make all the sense, feel free to go to nowastedtime.com or the International Welcome Center's website, which is globalundergroundrailroad.com, and purchase the digital copy of the book, or you can find it and some other titles on Amazon. Just search for Revolution Must Come to Our House, Our Home, or put my name in. There's not many Lorana Hughes on Amazon, so it should be pretty easy to find. And thank you for letting me share this morning with you, and have a great day. I'm going to go into quiet mode and honor the work. So take this time, if you have it, to do the work. Take care. Have a great day. If you have any questions, I will be monitoring the chat. So please feel free to put any questions that come up for you today in the chat. Have a great day, everyone.